Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And I guess we're excited to get underway with another board meeting. So, Mr. Weber, if we could have a roll call, please.
Mr. Damachia.
Yes.
Mr. Fallis.
Present.
Mr. Smith.
Present.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
And Mr. Williams.
Yes. This time, Pledge of Allegiance, Dr. Hall.
Tonight we have a student from Tony Morris Elementary School who will lead a Pledge of Allegiance. Kamar Halia. She's a 6th grade student. Kamar has an older sister, Fatima, who lives in Morocco. In her spare time, she likes to play soccer, basketball, and swim with her friends. Kamar speaks both English and Arabic and a little bit of Spanish. After the pledge, she will speak on citizenship. Mrs. Megan Young, principal of Tony Morris Elementary School, is here tonight to support her student. Khalil?
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Today, I would be talking about how to be a good citizen. To be a good citizen is all about being a good person. That means showing respect, having a good attitude, or just helping out. To me, being a good citizen should be easy, like in the classroom. You have to show responsibility by doing your homework on time or listening and following directions. Also, you have to help your classmates. Another example is in your community. Don't just throw your trash in the street. Find a trash can and use it. At home, you should always do your chores and listen to your parents. Don't just think if you're at home you can break the rules, because the same rules apply everywhere. To be responsible at home, you can help your parents, be good with your brothers and sisters, and do your chores without complaining. And try not to get into trouble. Remember, being a good citizen is just all about being nice to your classmates, community, and most importantly, family. Shukran Ismaili, that means thank you for listening in Arabic.
I'd like for the parents, please stand and recognize. Thank you for all your help. The board itself would like to thank Kamir as well. Thank you very much for your help. Appreciate it. Turn back over to Superintendent, Mr. and Board President.
Are there any other visitors for recognition? At this time, we would entertain our first hearing of the public. If you would like to address the board, please feel free to come forward to the podium. And looks like we have no takers. No. Oops.
I'm undeterred, Mr. Williams. Okay, I am Ann Duche, 554 Ogden Drive, Elyria. And I'm a retired Lorain City Schools art teacher, and I'm here to see that the fine arts be returned to the district. At the last board meeting, Mr. Tucker presented the academic recovery plan for Lorain City Schools to this board. This plan is online at the Lorain City Schools website, and it is there where I read it. On page 1, the document identifies math and reading as the areas of primary focus for academic improvement, but then states this: the Lorain Academic Distress Committee also recognizes the tremendous importance that academic subjects other than reading and math contribute to the success of a student. The Lorain Academic Distress Commission recognizes that many students are supported in their development of reading and math scores through other academic subjects. And then there's this: while the Lorain Academic Distress Commission has focused the majority of the academic recovery plan on the achievement of reading and math, the Lorain Academic Distress Commission strongly encourages the Lorain City School District to ensure that all student academic and non-academic activities support reading and math and support the development of the entire child. I asked the board to consider these positions by the Lorain Academic Distress Commission in regards to the fine arts. To wit, I make the following points. 1, the academic recovery plan does not limit academics to reading and math. Therefore, it does not exclude fine arts from the curriculum. 2, the academic recovery plan urges the use of other academic subjects to support reading and math. Fine arts are created with the tools of reading and math, so by their very nature, support reading and math. 3, the academic recovery plan reminds the district to educate the entire child. The entire child needs an entire curriculum, one that includes fine arts, one that is student-centered, not just data-centered. The conclusion is clear. The fine arts need to be part of the education of every child K through 12 in this district because they will help students achieve the academic goals in this recovery plan and do it in such a way that students find meaningful, enjoyable, and validating. Return fine arts to the elementary this year. Restore fine arts to the secondary this year. Expand fine arts K through 12 this year. Let the fine arts be allied with this academic recovery plan if you truly want it to succeed and if you truly want to educate our students. Thank you.
This time, may I have a motion to approve? This time, I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting held on October 8th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Was not present at the meeting. I abstain.
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
And Mr. Williams?
Yes. Old business? I do have one item, gentlemen. As per our discussion at the last board meeting, we had seen a brief presentation on the board docs, the paperless, i.e. electronic manner in which we were looking to move towards in terms of formatting our board meetings, gathering of information for the board meetings, and et cetera, et cetera. And I think Mr. Smith also had the opportunity to view the video.
On YouTube, yes.
And so is there any discussion about that before? I guess I have a motion here, and I'll read it. It is a recommendation that approval be granted to enter into a contract with Emerald Data Solutions, Inc. for the OSBA Pro Document Management System. There will be a one-time startup fee of $1,000 and a recurring annual cost of $9,600. This will be a general fund expenditure.
Support.
Discussion?
Mr. Weber, will the general fund support that for the first year?
Yes, I put it in the forecast.
Thank you. Also, if I might, I did get a chance to talk to a person down at OSBA. Her name is Amanda Finney. And they're very strong. In fact, on the document website, there's a page from the OSBA. There are about 50 school districts in the state using this system. And I have to say what I like about it is it's basically 24/7 access to everything that goes on at the board meetings. And I forget how many years is that stored, Tom, do you remember?
It's decades.
Yeah, it's longer than I'll have to look at it. So I think it's a great idea.
And we generally set aside a certain amount of money at the beginning of the year for board-related expenses. And I think since we've been here, and probably long before, we generally never really even exceed 50% of that amount. And so this does fit within not only this budget, but monies that would have been allocated previously, but we don't spend down. Those monies are for conferences and other board-related expenses, and we've been fairly conservative with that fund, and I think this would be a good. It'll be really efficient for the board, and I think Mr. Tucker indicated that as a preparation document for meetings, it'll be much more beneficial to his staff.
And I think I read or saw in the video that it also can accommodate a strategic plan.
Yes, that'll be on
That
there
you can-
too.
yeah.
It's also real transparent for the public, being able to, they don't have to make any requests, it'll be right there for them.
So with that, gentlemen, we can bring this motion to a vote. Mr. Weber?
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
And Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
There is a 6 to 8 week setup time on that with some training, so it won't be next meeting. It'll be forthcoming.
Thank you.
If you want, you can go on to the ProDocs website and look at various school districts, which I did, and see how they're doing their meetings. And it's very, 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 very transparent, as Mr. Tucker indicated.
This time, if there's no more old business, we would entertain a report and recommendation of the treasurer. Mr. Weber?
Thank you, Mr. Williams. There are 4 items on the docket for approval this evening. The first item 1 is the standard reports for September 2013. Item 2 is purchase orders requiring board approval. Item 3 is a 5-year forecast. Item 4, donations. I have a quick presentation on the 5-year forecast. We did a 5-year forecast every May and October. All school districts do is required by Ohio law. So this is the October submission. We just did one a couple of months ago because we had a lot of things happening in the summertime. This is the revamped version. It hasn't changed that much. A few things. Key assumptions first. It excludes the passage of any new money levies. We just passed levy in November of 2012, and that was a 7-year emergency real estate tax levy. We just got last week the new Ohio Department of Education, the new biennium budget figures that were effective July 1st, but it takes a lot of things take 60 days to get implemented by law, and they just gave us the figures a few days ago, which I put into this forecast, and it came pretty close to what I assumed back in August. We just signed a new contract for the Lorain Education Association. Those contract provisions are in the forecast also. I assume the item called the average daily membership, which is all the students available that can be taught in the school district, no matter where they go, okay, that was going to decrease every year by about $300,000 because it has been decreasing. Those children get out of the forecast because of moving out of the system.
They're not born.
Not born, whatever the issue might be, but it's the revenue side of the equation. I also put in there the loss of annual enrollment, which is the students that are in the district that are going to charter schools, open enrollment, the ed voucher programs, those kinds of things. 250 to 300 students per year, and the funding going with them. This we talked about a couple months ago. It's about $1.8 million to $1 million a year out I call out the back door of cost for us. And with that, with the current staffing levels, for every 100 students that are leaving, I assume 1 employee would be reduced for whatever reason. Revenues. You can see the actual results on the left for fiscal year 11, 12, and 13. And I put some footnotes on the bottom because the common question is, wow, what happened? We had $97 million back in 2011. Well, that included almost $5 million we borrowed versus that renewal levy. And we also borrowed $3 million on emergency levy that we passed last year. So those are slightly inflated because of those issues. We're paying back that debt over 5 years for each one of those. The forecast results, the bumping from 92 million to 97 million, that is because the new state of Ohio budget kicks in. We got about $3.8 million this year, another bump next year of about $6 million, hence you can see those things rising for that 5-year period. On the expense side of the equation, same types of things. The expenses did come down from fiscal year 11 to 12. We had a pretty big reduction in force, offset by some losses in enrollment. Also said that cost did not even out, but it certainly did show a reduction. And I also forecasted, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, the continued losses of enrollment translates into cost. okay? Charter school costs, open enrollment, and voucher programs. Medical costs I've increasing about 8% per employee per year. We did put some extra money in for student instruction materials this year. Quite a bit of money for that to help the books, the e-books, whatever it's going to be, a whole cadre of things. And some slow growth on employee compensation is baked into there. Ending fund balances, this is the pluses and minuses and takes into account beginning balances, the outstanding encumbrances is the key line there. Actual results, once again, might say, wow, we had $5.6 billion back in 2011. That includes $4.8 million that we borrowed. Okay, so it inflates that figure. We also borrowed $3 million back in fiscal year 13. So as we talked about a couple of years ago, if we had not done that, in my opinion, we would have been in fiscal emergency because we wouldn't be able to make our figures, okay? So the forecasted results were still black for 3 years. That .02 is not 2 cents, it's $20,000, okay? This is in millions of dollars. So we're black in fiscal year 15, fiscal year 16. The $1.5 million red, Tom and I had talked, it's doable to get rid of it with the right kind of controls and make sure we watch it very quickly. And to get to the fiscal year 18, leads to the last slide, which talks about stating the obvious, to slow down, eliminate the loss of students. If we can figure that one out and slow that down, or eliminate it, or even increase student enrollment, this whole package gets better by a lot of money. The other big assumption here is that the Ohio biennium budgets, which are 2-year budgets, okay, so we're into the 13-14, 14-15. That package was passed by the legislature on June 30th this past summer. But the next budget will be key too. What's going to happen then? Are they going to flatline it? Are they going to increase it, decrease it? I assumed we'd flatline it from the end of the second year for this year. So I don't show increases. I don't show decrease. I show it just flat. So once again, the key. They go backwards the wrong way. That's the key slide there, and it's very similar to what we had last time. There are some things that Tom and I can do, and we watch our costs very closely to maybe make that a little better. Couple that with the student enrollment, we have a chance. Okay. Any questions from the board?
I think you may have said I missed it. You're also, because you're assuming that the renewal.
Yes, the
will
renewal
pass
levy.
in 2016.
The renewal levy passes in 2016, which is renewals typically have a greater chance of passing. That
always has.
Right.
So.
That is in there as passes.
One thing you need to remember on 5-year forecast, we only have biennium budgets, but they ask you to project 5 years out. So if I ask each of you, in 2018, what's your car payment going to be, and what you go, what? Well, that's why these 2 years you just don't know what the biennium budget will be. So that's that's exactly what he's saying. We're totally flatlined at the state because we don't know if there's going to be any increases at the state at that time.
And as Tom and I discussed earlier, there is a continual drop in live birth rates within the school district and within the state, and there's absolutely nothing. Well, nothing we want to do to change that. And between 1995 and 2009, the number of live births dropped by 300 per year. So they're not coming to school. They're just not there, and that'll eventually show up in the ADM.
Right.
And so we have to. Well, there's no doubt we have to get our enrollment back, and I think we will.
The other thing we do too is this forecast gets updated internally every month. We have 2 pays a month, and we watch it very, very closely. Tom and I sit down on a monthly basis and go over all kinds of stuff and see where we are. Things do change, and the next big thing that'll come up, we had the account week 2 weeks ago, and that goes into the computers of the ODE, and then in December, or even January maybe, some things will get adjusted on that state budget, which will flow through to us, positive or negative. Very hard to predict. Problem is, that's halfway through the year, and you're making decisions, maybe your budget goes down. It happens quite a bit sometimes, okay? But we do look at it very closely. I know we're tight this year, and we have some needs to get some things done, and we watch very, very closely. Okay?
If you I mean, looking at this slide and considering what, we were faced with a year or two ago, I mean, looking at the restructuring in the district, looking at cutting positions, looking at the community support and passing the levy, I think the numbers up there at one point in time were facing 20 plus, 30 plus $1 million deficit. So looking at this slide, I actually smiled and said, wow, that's, it's unbelievable that we've made it this far. So I commend, all of you guys, Mr. Weber and your staff, and Mr. Tucker and his staff for doing what you guys do, because it wouldn't be possible to be at this point if it weren't for all of you guys and the staff and, of course, the teachers and anybody else that works for this district. The thing that always troubles me, and we all know that I'm a big fan of the charter school situation, looking at the 250 to 300 assuming students that are leaving this district, and we know that the funding follows the student. So the cost per pupil goes with that student, correct? And correct me if I'm wrong on this. I just want to be clear, and I always ask this question. So that's assuming that the cost per pupil that we are getting for that student that should be in this district but is not, that's assuming that they leave this district as a regular ed student. Who pays the additional cost when they become, let's just say, an autistic kid in a charter school? Now, am I correct by saying that comes out of our pocket as well? As well as, are we assuming the transportation is included in these numbers too?
The answer is yes. There is another thing at play here. As you know, I'm a data junkie, so I've had people dig into this a little bit deeper. There's an assumption that all our students go to other schools. And the data that and this is rough because it's very difficult till it's verified. We've got a lot of children that are out of state that just are leaving Lorain. They just don't live here anymore. So a lot of our loss is not necessarily because they're going elsewhere. It's they're just not here. So once we get all that data and you have to crunch it and you have to dig for it and find it, and it takes till January. Last year they closed the October count in April, I think. So I guess it was an October-April count. Hopefully they'll close it earlier this year. But the answer to your question is yes, there's excess costs and there's other costs that leave the district. But it's what we're finding is it's a little more complex. I'm a firm believer if you build it, they will come, and we're on the road to that. And we need to continue down that path. But that amount of money on the purchase service side for the students leaving is a drain on the budget.
I just want to make one or two comments. That's the best budget I've seen since I've been on the board. I've had $7 million deficit, $12 million deficit, $9 million. I like this, and a lot of it looks manageable. But in the fiscal year, when we finish the high school, and I'm making an assumption that we might get a little bump up when we do finish the high school, but that's just my assumption. But is that fiscal year 16 or 17? Would that be in? Would that be 17?
17.
Just in time.
Well, we don't know what the state will give us at that time. If the economy's traditionally, when the economy's been good in the state of Ohio, you get more of a bump. Like economy was pretty good, we got a bump. If economy it tanks like it did when Governor Kasich first went in, they took money away from all districts in Ohio. But if the economy's going pretty well, hopefully we'll do pretty well. That's why we're real tight, and that's why everybody accuses me of, oh, you're not doing this, you're not doing this. I watch this budget very, very carefully, and that's why this year we had a lot of things we had to put in place academically to get where we needed to be, and you can see Dale and I meet. That's why $20,000 on a $93 million budget. That's like here's a penny on a salary. I mean that you got to be very, very careful. Very careful. And
I just want to make something clear. You do like music, don't you?
Absolutely.
Okay, I just wanted to.
$1.2 million, and then you'd be looking at red 1.2, and so and remember what people do forget is a year ago we were in debt, and we're still paying back residual debt and residual costs that had happened for various reasons. We're almost out of that, but we still have some time to make those things right.
As a follow-up to your last comment, Superintendent Tucker, this is addressed to Treasurer Weber. When will the $4.8 million be paid off in full, and what that we borrowed in FY11, and when will the $3 million be paid off that we borrowed in FY13.
One falls off here, and one falls off at the end of that, if you include in there. So, yeah. For 5 years, paid, the principal's always paid in December.
So we'll get a little relief then in FY19 because that debt will be
Right.
off our balance sheet, so to
A
speak.
year
So
from
that'll be a
now-
little help
A
anyway.
year from now,
Thank you.
when FY19 sitting up there, that'll be falling off there, yeah.
And I
Thank you.
guess also, though it's just a maybe a anticipation, is the governor's formula that he executed this year. Our complexion doesn't change much. It's not going to change, and so his formula is far more favorable to districts in our predicament. So even when there is, and let's say there's a across-the-board cut, proportionately, we did much better this year than we've done.
Actually, under his formula, we should be getting a lot more money.
But the legislation,
But there's caps
Right.
on what you can get. And unfortunately, we capped out. So everyone says, wow, if they only raised the per pupil amount, well, if they raise the per pupil amount, they could raise the per pupil amount to $30,000 a student. We're still capped because we fit every category that for extra needs.
Right.
So, but we're capped at that. If you
But-
took the caps off, we'd be in good shape 10
but this is
years
one of the
out.
first times that they actually presented a formula that seemed to reflect favorably urban districts in our situation.
And funded it.
Yeah.
Because Governor Kasich looked at 3 key issues. Number 1, poverty rate.
Mhm.
Number 2,
Housing stuff.
property values. And number 3, median and average income. And we are low in all 3. That's why if his budget would have been approved, we would have been in even better shape, but the legislature
Yeah. Yes.
did it. I forget what we were supposed to get, but it was,
Another 4 or 5 million, I think.
Well, it was up there. It was quite a bit.
It was
more.
quite
Yeah.
a bit more.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let's do item one and 2 separate from 3 and from 4.
Motion to approve item 1 and 2.
1 and 2, yes.
Support.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
yes.
And Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Item 3 separately, please.
Motion to approve item 3.
Second.
Support.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
And Mr. Williams.
Yes.
And then item 4 separately, the donations.
Motion to approve item number 4.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
And Mr. Williams.
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, Mr. Tucker, we have a report and recommendation of the superintendent.
Personnel matters, A, item 1, consider of approval of discontinuances. A, certified staff is listed. B, support staff is listed. Item 2, consider of new appointments, certified staff. A, the first person there is because the enrollment was high, we need an additional kindergarten teacher. I'll do that every board meeting. I wish. The other one, it says LD teacher. She was a tutor for us. She's becoming a teacher because we had a need for a teacher there, so it's just a little salary difference. It isn't a totally extra there. Support staff, these are the usual substitutes and personal attendants that we need on a regular basis. Leave of absences, item 3 as listed. Item 4, we're putting back very strategically some of the limited academic supplemental contracts. Some you did have last year. Others we're putting them back as we can. Item 5, approval of limited academic supplemental contracts for our non-certified people. And item 6, memorandum of understanding between the Lorain Administrators Association and Lorain City Schools. As for approval of personnel matters, items items 1
through 6.
Motion to approve items 1 through 6.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
And Mr. Williams?
Yes.
B, facility matters. Item 7, approval of resolution regarding disposal of Lakeview Elementary School property. Item 8, consider to enter into renewal contract with Educational Funding Group. This is the group or the agent that you use for your E-rate. That's our funding for our tech stuff, and you've used that for quite a bit of time, and they assist. Every school district has someone assist them with their E-rate, which is the funding for all of our technical stuff. Consider of approval to enter into an agreement with Net Tech Corporation. What this is one thing that we have discovered here since we brought Mr. Kluber on board is even though our buildings are all 10 years old or less, technology changes about every 6 months. So we've got a lot of iPads and iBooks and some other things in place. What we need is a 10-year plan rather than a 3-month plan. So what this company is going to come in and do is take a look at all of our equipment district-wide, put together an entitled plan with a cash price on it. And I don't know if it'll be $200,000 or $1.6 million, but we need to know what we need to buy and what we need to purchase for this district for the next 10 years. And this company will do that. They've done this in a number of other districts. So that's what that contract is. Item 10, this is a contract with Debbie Burrow. She is a substitute for one of our special education people who is on maternity leave. And unfortunately, the IEPs don't wait for maternity leave, so we had to hire someone in there to do that. So I ask for approval of B items.
Motion to approve items 7 through 10.
7 through 10.
Support.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
And Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Other matters C, item 11, consider approval of resolution recognizing National Veterans Awareness Week. And at this time, you all saw that Dr. Sturgill has returned. He's already back in the saddle, and good to have him back.
Welcome back.
Your shoes could have a little better shine.
Dr. Hall, Dr. Sturgill, and Mr. Tucker sat down. It was just like being back at Admiral King in '06. And approval 7, other matters. Item 12, this is the policy manual, sections E, F, and K. We're way over halfway, and we should have this all completed and refreshed, and then we'll continue on as we move forward. So I ask for approval of other matters C, items 11 and 12.
Motion to approve items 11 and 12.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
And Mr. Williams?
Yes.
That's my report and recommendations.
Thank you. New business? I do have just a brief mention of an item that it's kind of old business, but it's in a new phase. I think at some stage we're going to be approaching a contract discussion with our superintendent. And so we need to begin to think about that. We are...
You can. The law says you can start that discussion January 1 of the year before it expires, and it expires in about 19, 20 months.
Yeah, so that would be starting January.
That would be 2 months. Yeah.
Yes. So, and I think it's for the most part, you can weigh in. I think we're fairly pleased with our selection. I think I almost broke my arm the other day, patting myself on the back about that one. But again, I think when things are going in the direction that you like, you have the conversation because it reinforces to everyone else that you're very satisfied with that direction, and then it also lets other people out there hear that we're going to secure this thing, so you guys don't have any dibs here. You need to go look somewhere else, and that can help other districts to go look in another direction. So, and plus we guess that especially with the there's a lot of attention on Lorain with this academic distress commission and our recovery plan, and so what happens is I think there are estimated maybe as many as 10 districts that might fall into academic distress, and so our superintendent, who has presented a plan that was fully in the distress commission, was fully accepted without revision, also creates a commodity status.
Are you campaigning for another district?
I'm just letting them know what we got. That's
Go
all.
on here.
You know, we get to brag in Lorain sometimes too, right?
Going back to Sandusky.
So anyway, gentlemen, so be thinking about that, and so we can actually kind of get ahead of that curve, and maybe have some discussions in January.
When he was in Sandusky, his contract gave him a lifetime pass at the Carousel at Cedar Point. He really misses it.
So, in the other piece of new business, of course, we know we have an election coming up. Yeah, and well, yeah, we're in it too. We're kind of not really opposed, but we're in it. But probably more importantly than that is the LC, Lorain County Community College Issue 2. And it's quite remarkable what the college is doing and what the partnership and relationship with specific Lorain City Schools is doing. And so we want to encourage our supporter base to go and support that. They did a study, and 89% of all bachelor degrees over the last 10 years in the state of Ohio, or in Lorain County, have had a connection with LC. Through the partnership program, through PSEO, through some range, 89% of the students with a bachelor's degree have had an academic experience with Lorain County Community College. And so we need to really champion that and promote that and support that as if it were our own, because it is our own. You know, we're used to supporting our local district, but that's our local community college. So please encourage everyone to go out and vote, get a sign. You know, because we don't have a levy on this, we shouldn't really be taking this time off. We should be promoting that. So please.
And remember, Mr. Williams, Lorain County Community College had its birth in Lorain City Schools, because Max Lerner, who headed up our adult ed, was in fact the first president of LC3. It grew out of. Did it not, Mr. Tucker? Oh, you were a little thing at the time, I think. But
That's the history.
so Lorain City Schools, in a way, is the catalyst for what became Lorain County Community College. And
it was the first community college in the state.
I didn't know that. Is that right? Yeah.
Yep, they were first. Cleveland State, or excuse me, Tri-C came second. And I think there was a big challenge between what I heard something about the Orchard, over on Broadway, the Spielberg.
Yeah.
And at the time where the college is at, it wasn't in Elyria. They annexed that. But it was a big debate on whether it would be in that area or in Lorain. And somehow or another, we didn't get that one. But
Well, at one time, it was thought that it would be able to build behind what was Sheffield Shopping Center, where May Company and all. That didn't work out, so doesn't matter where it is.
I did that especially for you, Tony.
And we know you went to Elyria High School. We knew that.
Yes. Anyway, all right. So thank you. Any other? How about community reports or requests from board members?
If I might, Mr. President. I'm pleased to report that the school endowment fund trustees met on the 10th of October for the purpose of awarding grants for the 2013-2014 school year. In 1982, Lorain City Schools became the first school district in the United States to partner with a community foundation in forming an endowment fund. To date, those endowment grants now exceed $1 million. This year, and Tom was at the meeting as well, this year a total of $90,056.84 was awarded to 22 grants. Just to give you some examples of what the kids are going to get to do that they wouldn't have been otherwise able to do. Over at Johnny Wilson, and their principal is here tonight, and Mike, keep your hands off this money. For another year, there's going to be a traveling art exhibit with amazing artwork and art supplies How has that worked out in the past, Mr. Scott?
It's been very successful. It's supported the art curriculum, and it's been very busy, not only for our students, but when we have community events, it's an educational tool for communities.
And I'm glad you mentioned something. All of these grants tie both into the school curriculum and the Academic Distress Committee and Mr. Tucker's recovery plan. Another great program is Experiencing the Past. Students from Stephen DeHanas will be taking a day trip to Hale Farm and Village, and then on another day to the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. These are hands-on events. They're not just they're gonna be able to participate. Maybe they'll get to milk a cow, I don't know. But things the kids will not forget. A group over at Longfellow will be having an outdoor classroom that will operate from now until next June. Kids all the school will participate in that. And that's in partnership with the East Side Block Watch group. So it's a true community experience. There's another group from Lorain High School will be going to see Wicked, which is a Broadway musical at the Playhouse Square. And all of the district will participate in a Reward for Success program that will encourage kids to not only come to school, but to excel when they get there. So it's another great year for our endowment funds. The trustees want to thank Rachel Tanzi, her assistant, Diane Augusto, and all of the grant writers for their dedicated service to Lorain's kids. Because these teachers take time to write the grants. It's very competitive. And the students come back and they get to experience something that they would otherwise have not experienced. Thank you, Mr. President.
I guess what is part of we could put under the board member request piece here is the discussion of our meeting for November.
Yes. Because we'll be at the Capitol Conference on week of November 11th.
Correct.
Some potential alternative dates would be Thursday, November 7th, Wednesday, November 20th, or Thursday, November 21st. Those are days that might be okay for everybody.
And those you've already cleared with you and Tom, I presume,
Yeah.
correct? Because also then we have Thanksgiving. We run into the same issue there. So we have a couple of choices. I mean, we could look at the earlier date. That way, in case we needed an emergency meeting for some reason, we would have the latter part to deal with that. And of those dates stated, the 7th.
Would you have anything ready for us at that time?
It's not going to be a lot.
I would suggest that we use either the 20th or the 21st and have one meeting for the month. And then, Mr. President, you have the authority to call a special meeting if necessary. So that would be my thought. But
So what was it, the 21st? How does that look for you, gentlemen?
21st is
21st is a
good.
Thursday.
It's a
Okay.
Thursday.
Okay.
It's a good day.
It's a good day.
Move it forward.
Okay, then let's go with that. If there's no objection, we will, the next boarding will be on Thursday, November 21st at 6:30 p.m. right here.
it'll be a special meeting.
Right.
So a special meeting
And not the 26th.
and not the 26th.
Then you're in. It's Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, nobody will be here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and we'll also cancel the 12th, though. So
Correct.
correct.
Yeah.
So if we need anything before that, it'll just be another special board meeting.
Right.
Mr. Williams and
Right.
Mr.
Just have it at your house, Bill.
Weber have
Just
the
have it at your
authority to call those.
Right.
Does not take a vote of the board.
Okay, at this time, we would entertain a second hearing of the public. If anyone would like to address this group of distinguished gentlemen. And Jim. I did distinguish and Jim.
Okay, all right. to speak. Oh.
The newspaper, the journal says.
Back to the academic recovery plan. There's an item in it that I'm not sure how well it's going to work out. One of the goals in it is to have the core subjects work with the non-core subjects in order to support reading and math. And I'm wondering how this is going to be done down at the elementary school level when the only non-core teacher there is the gym teacher.
Usually, they don't ask questions, I just respond in writing. I mean, if you want me to respond at length, I can. At the last meeting, I spent probably 45 minutes on the academic recovery plan. There's probably over 300 items in there. That is a 4 to 5 year or 3 to 4 year plan, and there's a whole lot of things in place. What I have said on a number of occasions is I don't want to put this district at risk. I spent too many years at this district being at risk financially, and we're finally out of it. And districts across the country are struggling with exactly with what we're struggling with when it comes to the fine arts. You know, fine arts is near and dear to my heart. I answer to a commission in addition to this school board, and I also answer to the state superintendent of public instruction, Dr. Ross. And right now, our primary concern in this district, and I went over this at the commission meeting, and in fact the Journal, I believe, had a front page article on it, third grade reading guarantee. Only 68% of our children are reading on task at this point, and we have to focus on that. Do I want music back in the schools? Absolutely. But it's $1.2 million, but it also includes art and it also includes library. We don't have librarians here and it's literacy. That's killing me too. There's a whole lot of ways we could do that, but not everybody's willing to make those sacrifices. But what I've got to do is, unfortunately, I'm the gentleman that has to make the recommendations and balance this out. We're barely making it through this year by the skin of our teeth. Next year, we have a possibility. What I do not want to do is bring everybody back, because I was in HR when I brought everybody back in 07, 08. And 2 years later, guess what you did? You laid them all off again. And then 3 years later, guess what you did? You laid them off again. It's not good for kids. The one thing I'm getting on my soapbox. Sorry, Mr. Williams. But there is one thing that's important to me that this district has not had, and I said this the day I walked in here, August 15, 2012, is continuity. We don't have continuity in this district. Those kids need to know who their teachers are, know who their principals are, without jerking everybody around and moving it around. And if that means we have to squeak by and do that, that is one of my priorities. And if the board doesn't like that priority, I'll be more than glad to move on. But that is a priority. That's what everyone's told me, because I've had teachers tell me I've been in 5 buildings in 5 years. I have students that don't even know who it is, and we've moved kids all over the district. I'd like to have a student say, just like I was, 7 years in Larkmore School, 2 years in Longfellow, 4 years at Lorain High. That's what our students need, is that stability. That plan is an evolving plan. It was approved by Dick Ross. Right now, we are in the infantile stages of going through data, which we go through every month. They're 4-hour meetings. The last one was short. It was 3 hours and 40 minutes. And we go through all kinds of data, which the paper reports very accurately, actually. And right now, the priority is on something a little different. Is it important for our students? Absolutely. I've looked at all kinds of ways. I've looked at partial. I've looked at couple grades. I've looked at a lot of things. But unfortunately, I start putting some of those things back. We cut a lot of cash out of this building to try to support more tutors and more teachers in classrooms, because that's what's important. We moved psychologists into the buildings. We moved a lot of people out. I just keep going and going. You already heard this report. But anyways, it's very, very important to know that that plan right now is focused basically, and what I get called on every other month, the state superintendent calls me and says, what are you doing about third grade reading? What's your test scores? And what are you doing about it? And what's the RIMP plan? That's the reading improvement plan for those students that aren't reading. That's what this district is being graded and judged upon, and that's right now where our focus is in the district. I think I've said that pretty accurately for all the people that work here. That's where we're at this point. So is that a concern for where we're at? Yes. The elementary day will be expanding. That's huge. If you count those minutes up, our students will be spending almost 4 weeks longer in school. That's unbelievable with what that'll happen. With that happening, that may open up some other times, which I also then expanded. We negotiated with the association to expand their conference time at the elementary, which when eventually what that means is they have more time to prepare, because a 30-minute conference period is not enough for an elementary teacher, but that also means, because I'm thinking way after long after I'm gone, more music and more art for the day for every single student. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your response.
That's our time is up, ma'am. You've exhausted your time, and we thank you, and we'll expect you back again. But right now, our time is up. Thank you.
I did not exhaust my 3 minutes, but I will go.
Thank you. Any other individuals would like to address the board at this time? Thank you. And I think we don't have an executive session this
Next
evening,
board
correct?
Next board
So next board meeting again, repeat, is for the
November
21st.
21st at
6:30?
6:30 p.m. right here
Right
in
here.
room 10.
Beautiful.
And may I have a motion for
Motion to
adjournment?
adjourn.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Demakia,
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Mr. Fallis,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and Mr. Williams.
Yes.
This has been a production of Lorain City Schools, TV 20 WLCS.
To purchase a high-quality copy of the program you just viewed, please call Lorain City Schools Television at 282-8400.